This whole anime has been nothing but one giant roller coaster of toxicity. Now, as you guys can see here in plain sight, the gal Himari right here in this blue haired, she pretty much bitch slapped him. That is correct, bitch slapped him. I think the guy's a beta, but he's still just a kid. These guys are still in high school, so you gotta understand where they're coming from. They're gonna make a lot of mistakes, but honestly, if you're in this type of relationship where you allow a woman to like hit you, bro, 100%, if you're not cheating on her, or if you haven't broke, you should just break up. Honestly, there's no really point in cheating with anyone. You should just break up with them. But that's the crazy thing, guys, is like these guys are not even dating. They're not they're not in a relationship. That's what makes this even crazier. And this dude allows, this guy's name is Yu. He allows this girl just to push him around and be violent towards him. And then of course there's like a lot of teasing as well, which could be seen as toxic in terms of they're not really in a relationship. And she's doing all this, sexual teasing, like trying to kiss him and trying to make him kiss her, even though she's already pushing another girl, to be with him. Guys, I honestly had to take a nap after watching this episode because my mind was everywhere. There was just so much flip-flopping, they were changing the goalpost every corner in this episode. Because you can see here, this girl is just adamant about, trying to make you extremely, not you guys, but the guy's name is Yu. The guy named Yu, to apologize, to feel sorry, to feel guilty, to make him just, take back what he has done. And guys, this is all he has really done, is just giving her position as a model to somebody else. And this to her was such a huge betrayal that she made a huge scene. And not just here, guys. She didn't make a scene here. She made a scene in public. If you guys watched episode 3, she screamed and threw a tantrum like a little child would, in the middle of summer because they dropped their ice cream or they stubbed their toe. Now the whole world is crashing down. But just getting violent in the first place is just a huge red flag. He should, of course, at the end of the episode, they do make up, guys. And that's just what's so sad about all this, is that if the girl just communicated instead of just beating around the bush about why she got her feelings hurt, why, she's saying, oh, I'm gonna move to Tokyo. She was really honestly pushing the envelope so much that I really felt bad for this guy, Yu, because I feel like this happens to all of us. We allow this type of toxicity to just flourish, because like I said, I don't blame him in personally because he's still a kid. But if you're a goddamn adult and you're allowing this type of toxic relationship just to flourish, the first thing you should do is just run. You should just run away from this relationship. Skip the whole, oh, I'm cheating on this person, cheating on that person. Whether you're the male side or the female side, you should just run. The first whiff of just violence or just arguing, you guys shouldn't really be arguing. You should just be discussing, a plan and then executing that plan within a relationship. If there is a, let's say, disagreement or something just doesn't make sense, you should just explain yourselves, be transparent, communicate. But here, as you can see here, he breaks her necklace, and of course, she takes it very personal, and this only escalates things. But of course, you over here in the back of his mind, he's thinking, oh, I could probably make her another one. I can see us guys, we're already thinking of solutions. And throughout this whole entire episode, this gal Himari was just one giant mess of feelings, even contradicting feelings. Like after all this, she just puts a smile on her face like a diabolical monster. After her whole tantrum throwing, it's just so diabolical seeing these type of people seeing these type of gals, or you know, guys can do it too, but this in specific, in this episode, it was just her just being extremely toxic, two-faced. And it's just sad because within this whole premise of this anime, she has been such a joy to see. She was so bubbly, she was so nice, she was, you know, a little bit flirtatious with the guy. You know, it was just, you know, all an innocent, you know, innocence. You know, they're still kids. So of course right here, you know, she's crying because her necklace broke. You know, but prior to all this, it was just all nice and bubbly and just, you know, well behaved gal, you know, because they're still kids. So, but now after this whole debacle, she's really showed her ugly side of her nature. You know, the ugly side that no one should really show. You should just be in control of your emotions. But like I said here, I don't expect her, you know, she's still a kid. But even so, it's like, bro, if you're throwing tantrums like this, you gotta stay away from people like this. Like, in all honesty. But as you guys can see here, you know, throughout the episode, she goes so far as to, look, even in class, she labels him as the one who's bullying her, and everyone notices, and he's like, whoa, she got me, you know, you got me, I'm the bully, yup, even though I'm not the one who threw a tantrum in public. And she runs away. You know, this is like during class. You guys can see here, this was during class. Look, you can see here, everyone was just looking at him and snarking on him. And this is the sad reality for us men. You know, whenever a gal is crying, whenever a gal is pouting, the public's always gonna take the girl's side. They're always gonna defend her, give her some excuse for her to throw a tantrum, give her an excuse to be violent, give her an excuse to be in her emotions. You know, they're gonna just, you know, bypass all these firewalls and, you know, be like, oh, it's not, you know, she couldn't do this, she couldn't do that. You know, it's because, you know, it's that time of the month or something. There's gonna be something out there. And it's just sad to see. Well, for us guys, we're gonna automatically be labeled as violent. We're gonna be labeled as, you know, some type of misogynist. We're automatically gonna be labeled having anger problems. We're automatically gonna be, you know, labeled as the bad guy, the villain. There is no excuses for us other than we're just bad, you know. And it's just so terrible to see, you know, this happen to our guy on the other side of the spectrum, and no one really is batting an eye. And he's allowing this, guys. He's really allowing this. Now, while I do, you know, like that they made up towards the end of the day, and I do like that she got disciplined by her brother, her older brother, guys. You know, her older brother put her in her place and was like, what you are doing is just terrible. What you are doing is just toxic. What you are doing, you're just breaking a relationship for something that is not even the big picture. He's over here is like, what is your purpose with him? Like, what is truly important to you? Like, why get violent? Why distance yourself? I thought you were doing this for something greater than yourself. So you can see here, you know, it was just such a W episode for her brother, honestly. You know, putting her in her place, showing her that there's bigger and more important things to worry about other than your model spot being taken away, and even romantic feelings. You know, like, there's, you know, the bigger picture is just way bigger than herself, and she just needs to lock in and stop all this childish tantrum. Now, like I said, while they are very young, you know, they don't really have any life experiences. You know, you would think they would have grown up in a better environment. Even so, you know, even I as a kid, I was born in the ghettos, I was born in the hoods, and I really didn't throw these tantrums when I was younger. And I had shitty parents too. You can see here, I just love how he's disciplining this guy right here, disciplining his sister. If only he caught it on earlier. You know, it's tough, you know, when looking out from the outside and looking in, you know, to catch these. But of course, this was really needed in her life. That's why it's always important to look for a stronger male figure. And of course here, she's really feeling like guilt as well for doing all this nonsensical, you know, tantrum throwing, you know, like a little baby, you know, She was feeling bad. They knew it was like, you know what, maybe I did do you wrong, because this was about a promise that they made. But guys, that's why you never make a promise to a gal or to anyone, honestly. Not even to yourself. You know, who cares about promises? It's all about goalkeeping, because we're gonna fail, guys, and we have to fail. But anyways, that's a whole other story. But yeah, as you guys can see here, they forgive each other, and that's great and all. But this, guys, you should never accept violence. Violence should always be the one thing that breaks up even long-term friendships. You know, if someone gets violent with you, it should be the end of a long-term friendship or relationship. I don't care if you guys are childhood friends. That should just break it up, and you should find better friends. Honestly, there's a billion people out there. Billions of people out there. And unless you're like, they're your sister or something, you know, that's kind of like family. You can never get rid of family. Now, fuck that. If your family gets violent, especially when you're an adult, either keep an 8-foot pole away from them. You know, just play it cool. Don't try to, you know, keep the relationship going until you see that they've grown and they've matured and now they're a little bit more trustworthy. See, with family, there's a little bit more leeway. If you get into some type of, you know, attack, you know, especially when you're kids, you know, it happens a lot. You get into fights when you're kids, but you always keep an 8-foot pole with family. And then once you see that they've matured, all right, maybe they can go back into your friend group, family group, you know, where you guys talk more, because they will keep the abuse up, guys. Like, holy, until you see that they've matured, maybe then you can give your family a chance. But when it's like friends and all this, you could make more friends. You know what I'm saying? And you can find better friends. Do better, guys. You know, don't ever allow violence to get a breath of air. Don't allow violence to have any pass. Otherwise, it's gonna come back and bite you in the ass again, and you're gonna get. And it's sad to say, guys, people who are violent will become even more violent. You know, they get a taste of that power. They get a taste of that fear. But thankfully for here, Himari and you were able to make things up, and that's why this is just so hard to watch, because they just, like, it was just left and right. You know, him allowing her to be toxic as fuck, and her just throwing this tantrum, and him just allowing and making excuses for her. You know, so it was just really tough. But of course, we just want to move on from this. And bro, this really just took away all my energy, to be honest with you, because I would never have allowed this shit to even get to this point. You know, it's just ridiculous that she's just allowed to be this fucking toxic. You know, this is what makes guys cheat on you, girl. Like, if you're still, look, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're still in a relationship with somebody and you've been violent with them, they're 100% cheating on you, or they're doing something behind your back that you would not allow, but because you got violent, they're gonna be doing it. If you're still in a relationship after being violent, guys, it's just never gonna work. That is all, guys.